Alright guys, BLM here, back with a new video. In this video, we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed. Now, this is not a video I intended on making. To be honest, Assassin's Creed, just as a franchise, has been something that hasn't been at the front of my mind for a decently long time at this point. But at the time of this recording, we did get some pretty big updates on what the series is doing moving forward, and I just feel like in general, I have a lot to say about my thoughts on where the series is going, to the point where obviously I decided to make this video. So let's just preface this with obviously the fact that I used to be a massive Assassin's Creed fan. Ever since I played Assassin's Creed 1 in 2009 and followed that up almost immediately with Assassin's Creed 2, I really was obsessed with the series. Through Brotherhood, Revelations, 3, 4, I really adored everything the series did. And while I did have a bit of a point where I followed the series, but I didn't really play the games as much during the points where Unity and Syndicate came out, Origins really brought me back in, and I adored a lot of what Origins did at the time. But then since then, with the releases of Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla to a degree, where Valhalla is a game I did really enjoy at the time that it came out, but since then have had pretty significant flaws, my appreciation for the series has just continuously went down over and over and over again. And with the recent news that Assassin's Creed is going to fully turn into a live service game, codenamed Assassin's Creed Infinity, I really feel like at this point, it's time for me to say farewell to the series. And this has been something that I've been thinking about for a while, because Assassin's Creed, again, for me, has gone downhill. I mean, a lot of the things that I personally loved from the series back in the day of the original Desmond saga is essentially gone at this point. I mean, looking at what Assassin's Creed was, Assassin's Creed 1, going from that all the way to Valhalla, it's like two radically different experiences. But to be honest, even beyond that, there's so many other factors going into this that really just made me feel like probably this is the time for me to let go of Assassin's Creed. Not to say that I won't talk about Assassin's Creed moving forward, because, I mean, I still do love the older games, and I will still do videos talking about those older games at points. I mean, Assassin's Creed Revelations 10-year anniversary is coming later this year. I am going to do a retrospective of that. But really, for me, there's so many factors playing into my love of Assassin's Creed just fading away. I mean, first we can talk about the game-related things. I mean, first up, we have obviously the new approach to this RPG style of gameplay, which I personally didn't mind at Origins. I felt like Origins was a perfect blend of the old Assassin's Creed with the new RPG elements. However, I feel like with Odyssey, obviously we took a turn for the worse significantly. And then when Valhalla came out, I do feel like they tried to implement elements of the original Assassin's Creed, but even a lot of those elements kind of faltered. And really, to me, it really doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed is Assassin's Creed anymore. And I mean, to be fair, Assassin's Creed has always had an identity problem, especially beyond that initial Desmond saga, where, again, I think Assassin's Creed started off as a series about the Assassins and the Templars, and the sci-fi story related with the Animus and the Isu and all this stuff. But then as time went on, I do feel like it started to transition into a series more about the historical settings, which, again, the original games had historical settings, but that wasn't the main focus of the game. Looking at something like Assassin's Creed Revelations, like, no one was clamoring to go to Constantinople during the Renaissance. Like, that wasn't anyone's major fantasy to do, but they went there because it made sense for the story. But at the point that we're at now, I think starting with Assassin's Creed 3, where we had this American Revolution setting, and then beyond that we had the pirate fantasy, we had the French Revolution, we had Victorian London, we had ancient Egypt, we had this Mystios fantasy in ancient Greece, we have the Viking fantasy in Valhalla. It really has lost what Assassin's Creed was initially supposed to be. But really, I feel like Odyssey and Valhalla back-to-back have kind of been the breaking point for me. Obviously, Odyssey is a game that I've been very open with disliking a significant amount, but Valhalla is one that, when it came out, I did have a lot of appreciation for. Again, I still have a lot of appreciation for a lot of the callbacks that they make to previous games, a lot of the stuff that Darby McDevitt put in there in particular, that wraps up a lot of storylines that I never thought were going to get wrapped up. And I have a lot of respect for what Darby did with that game. But Valhalla for me is a game that, as time has gone on, I just simply don't like the game that much. It's just a bloated mess. It's a game that really should have only been like a 20-hour game, but instead is bloated to become an 80 to 100-hour game. So much of that game is stuff that should have been side content, yet they force it down your throat and force you to play these pointless arcs in order to progress the main story. And for me, that's a massive amount of bloat that I just have no real interest in playing at this point. I mean, I try to 100% the game. I try to do all the side content within Valhalla, and I just can't do it. I mean, like, I've only done like probably like 25% of the side content within the game. Obviously stuff outside of things that matter to the overall narrative. I'm talking about like things within the open world, and it's like, I just can't do it anymore. I just don't care. It's so boring to me. And I will say this, something that I haven't really talked about on the main channel here is I haven't played the Wrath of the Druids DLC at this point, largely because of how burnt out I am of playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I have no interest in going back to Valhalla at this point and playing it again, really ever. I'm sure I will at some point, but it's like, I really just have no interest in it right now. And because of that, I have decided to cancel the DLC reviews that I planned on initially doing. I did plan on initially doing a review of Wrath of the Druids and Siege of Paris, and I was going to merge those into two at one point, but now I'm just like, I don't care. I'm going to cancel both those videos because I'm just like, I'm burnt out of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And beyond those two DLCs, like, we now know that they're doing more DLCs that have to do with the other realms. And it's like, I simply don't care. I mean, this is not what I got into Assassin's Creed for. I mean, the Asgard section of Valhalla is easily the worst section of that entire game. And the fact that they're making more of that for DLC, it's like, I don't care. And really, we can bring all this back to Infinity, where at this point, Infinity, again, is going to be this live service Assassin's Creed game. Which, I mean, I think just in premise, isn't the worst thing in the world. I mean, obviously, it's something that I'm not into. I'm not into live service games, but I do think if it was done right, it is something that has some potential to it. And I do think this concept of making this live service game on as grand of a scale as what I assume that they're going to do with Assassin's Creed Infinity is something that we haven't really seen before in a third-person action-adventure sort of game. Like, we've seen it with shooters in the past, with like things like Destiny, and we know Halo's going to try something like this. But for Assassin's Creed, I do feel like it feels like a bit different, but obviously this feels like a radical departure from what Assassin's Creed has been doing, even further than this RPG turn that they've taken in recent years. This is going even further beyond that, to where essentially from this point forward, again, it seems like there's going to be one Assassin's Creed game. It's going to be Infinity. And obviously there's going to be essentially different games within that unlock over time. They're going to release new things. There's that, but it's like, again, like, it just feels like a radical departure from what the series has been doing up to this point, and something that I don't care about. Like, I simply just don't care, and I'm not going to be playing it, straight up. I really don't intend on playing it. I feel like at this point, this feels like a massive enough jump for Assassin's Creed to be making to where I think I'm done with the franchise. I think I'm done. I mean, I think Valhalla was my breaking point. I think I'm good. Again, Valhalla for me felt like the end of an era. I mean, just in alone, obviously ending Layla's storyline, with it wrapping up certain other storylines from previous entries in the series, with the departure of Darby McDevitt, who is my favorite writer within the Assassin's Creed series, and really the only one that seemed to give a shit within Ubisoft about the narrative of Assassin's Creed. With all these things happening, I just don't care about Assassin's Creed anymore, to the point where, again, I have no interest in Infinity. I will not be playing it, more than likely. Now, again, I could look like an idiot years from now when it comes out and make a video on it and say, oh my god, I love it. But like, as of right now, I don't care. I simply don't care. It's not something that's for me. Really, I just feel like this is a good break-off point for me with the series. And something I haven't even talked about that I will also factor in here is also the amount of sexual assault allegations that have been made against Ubisoft, with a lot of people higher up within Ubisoft, to where even within the news of Infinity, we found out that a lot of people that got allegations against them are still in high positions within these Assassin's Creed teams. And essentially these people that are creating Infinity here are people that have allegations against them. And the fact that Ubisoft themselves don't seem to care about this is also another major factor in my falling out with the Assassin's Creed series, where I just can't look at Ubisoft and the products that they make in the same way anymore, where knowing that these games are for one, not even that good to begin with. Like, again, like I simply don't like Odyssey and Valhalla that much. But also to know the fact that they are being made in this really toxic workplace is something that really just turns me off from even wanting to bother playing a new Ubisoft game. And to top off all this bad news about Infinity in my eyes is the fact that the entire project is essentially going to be led by Ubisoft Quebec, who I've talked about for years as this branch of Ubisoft that simply doesn't give a shit about Assassin's Creed. Having made Syndicate and Odyssey, these two games that feel like such radical departures for the series, and for that team to be given the lead on Assassin's Creed moving forward, and for them to take the Montreal team, the team that have made the better entries in the series. They made Revelations, they made Black Flag, they made Origins, they made Valhalla, which, as much as I complain about Valhalla, I do think they did the best they could do considering the poor decisions that corporate were forcing on them. To take that team and say, no, you're not going to be in charge. We're going to give it to Quebec, and we're going to essentially try to blend these two groups together in order to make one workspace to work on Assassin's Creed at this point, is like such a mind-blowing decision in my eyes. I mean, to essentially merge these two teams together, these two teams who are very openly not agreed on how to approach Assassin's Creed. And that's another thing we got in the article, is that they've made that pretty clear. But even from the games that you see them make, you can tell it's very clear. Again, to go from Origins to Odyssey, just to see the difference in quality between those two is pretty staggering. And the same thing from like Black Flag to Syndicate. You can tell that the approaches to these games are so radically different. And for Ubisoft to think that, oh, by merging these two teams together, that is the best approach, it's insane to me. All of this news about Infinity is literally the worst possible news that could come out of Assassin's Creed in my eyes. Like, I really don't have anything positive to say here. But really, at the end of the day, this is also just me saying my piece on Assassin's Creed. Again, I'm done with the franchise. Again, as I said, I'll still make videos here and there about the older games that I love. But I kind of want to make this video to kind of say farewell to the series that I had so much attachment to for so long. And a series that I simply just don't care about anymore. And again, this has been a long time coming, but I think with the news of Infinity, with the sexual assault allegations that Ubisoft themselves seem to not care about at all, and with Valhalla feeling like the end of an era anyway, I just feel like it's time for me to let go of the series that I've loved ever since I was a kid, and one that I just don't feel like I can fully support anymore. Well, there we go. I mean, those are pretty much my thoughts. Again, a very rambly video here. I do apologize for that, but again, this is literally just me sitting in front of the mic talking about my thoughts about Assassin's Creed. As I said, I'm still doing that Assassin's Creed Revelations retrospective. That'll come later this year. I still would like to do certain Assassin's Creed videos that I never got around to doing, and redoing certain videos that I did in the past. Like, there are still Assassin's Creed video ideas that I would like to do, but again, in terms of moving forward the franchise, I don't feel like there's much else for me left to come from this franchise. And I feel like this was a nice way to kind of just say farewell to it all. So with that, I mean, stay tuned for more game retrospectives, reviews, rankings, that sort of stuff. Thank you for watching.